Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time here in the booming metropolis just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's right, I'm talking about a little place I like to call Ambler. Noon Thursday, Ambler, you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, your weekly look at all things human resources, talent acquisition, talent management, AI agents, and so much more. Talent Experience Live, proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion find the right work. That's why we host this program every single Thursday, why we have another fantastic podcast starring Cliff Yerkowitz that comes out monthly on Mondays. Look out for a new episode next Monday. It's also why we are at every single HR tech event under the sun, why we host a plethora of fantastic webinars. We're actually doing some very hyper-specific ones coming up for banking, pharma, and so much more. So check that out at phenom.com. And also why we host I Am Phenom. Just a few short months ago in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we hosted I Am Phenom, our global event. Coming up in November, we have I Am Phenom Europe. This year, it will be in Paris. And then in December, we have I Am Phenom India coming up. So if it's in your neighborhood, which it sounds like it is, the US, Europe, or in India, definitely register. You can find it all at iamphenom.com or iamphenomeurope.com. I think I Am Phenom India will be up in a few short weeks, so look out for that. But in the meantime, back to our regularly scheduled program. This is Talent Experience Live. I'm your host, Devin Foster, and I hate to be the one to break this news, but the U.S. is out of the World Cup, and that begs a huge question for all of us Americans out there is, who do we root for now? Sure, you could go down your family lineage. Obviously, the United States is a melting pot of all sorts of other places. But we wanted to have some fun here. We wanted to take a little bit of a closer look. And we are tying our AI agents to specific teams. We're going to dive into France, Argentina, Spain. We've whittled it down to the final 8 teams. And just to preface, we have pre-recorded this. So we made a couple assumptions. Hopefully no one notices. But neither here nor there. Should be a fun episode diving into these particular 8 teams from France to Morocco, to Spain, to Norway, and so much more. So without any further hesitation, let's jump right into it. I'm solo today. I am our soccer expert. No Alexi Lalas, no Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It is just going to be here. But as I mentioned, we're going to dive into the Phenom X Plus agents and figure out which ones align with which teams. Starting with my team, my favorite, France. A big fan of Olivier Giroud when he was playing for France, Antoine Griezmann, N'Golo Kante, and so many more. But they're all gone. Right now, they are really being led by the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Michael Olise, a lot of these very young talents, which is why France is the Phenom sourcing agent. Every country on earth tries to produce talent as well as the French Football Federation does. Their pipeline seems to never run dry. From Mbappe to some of my favorites earlier, they're constantly scouting around the globe, seeing who has French ties and bringing them onto the French team. And that's exactly what the sourcing agent does. It sources for you. It doesn't wait for candidates up to apply to your position. It goes and finds them, building curated shortlists, using AI-powered matching, refining results to find best fit talent, automating the kind of sourcing work that would take a recruiter hours on end or even an entire afternoon to fiddle through, to whittle down. It handles all of that for you. And the result of that is that your pipeline no longer looks like zero on a Monday morning. It's already populated with people who we feel and you feel would be a good fit for your role before you even had your first coffee, or as they say in France, espresso, un café. You get the idea. If you're a recruiter who's ever started off their Monday morning looking at a blank screen saying, how am I going to fill this? Where do I even start? France is your team, and so is the Phenom sourcing agent. Moving right along, Morocco, the fraud detection agent. Now, if you've watched any of this World Cup, Morocco has had an impenetrable defense led by the likes of Hakimi, and so many more. Their Moroccan back line has really not given up many goals. We saw that in the last match where they won 3-0 to Canada. We're connecting that to the fraud detection agent, and here's why. Oftentimes, when we are doing manual work, people fall through the cracks. We had a fantastic episode last week with Joanna Keel talking about this, how fraud has taken so many different shapes and sizes in the age of AI. The fraud detection agent analyzes voice for inconsistency. It detects deepfakes in video and audio. It flags AI-generated or fabricated responses, tracks all of those little intricacies on resumes that simply don't add up, and hopefully it gives you an alert as to when someone is being misleading about how efficient they are in Microsoft Excel. If you lie awake at night worrying about who's actually on the other side of your video interview, if something doesn't feel right, Morocco is your team simply because of the fraud detection agent, right? It is going to filter out what is good and what is bad. And at the end of the day, defense wins championships. Let's see if that's the case here in the World Cup in the coming weeks. Moving right along to one of the more familiar of powerhouses, Spain. Spain is famous for their tiki-taka style of play. That is where it is bouncing back and forth. Hopefully I show a video on this screen. But it's all about patience. It's all about finding the right gaps in order to attack and score. And they've done this for years. They won a World Cup only a few short years ago. And no one technically shoots the ball until it is wide open, until they are ready to. We saw this when they beat Portugal, simply 1-0 last week. We aligned Spain with the Phenom intake agent. Now, the reason for that is when you look at Spain as they wait patiently for the next shot, it oftentimes looks inefficient from the outside. Why are they still passing? Just shoot. And then you realize they're not passing because they can't shoot. They're passing because they are waiting for the exact right moment with the exact right setup. And that's exactly what the intake agent does. It gathers role requirements, aligns hiring teams on expectations before the process even begins. It applies templates for consistency and speeds up requisition creation. Their entire job is getting the foundation right so that sourcing, screening, interviewing, all of that downstream, they're not fighting against each other because of misalignment. Most bad hires aren't interview failures. I think we as humans have a good understanding of who would be a good fit for a company and who may not. They often fail because their intake fails. If you're a recruiter who is stuck constantly trying to deal with hiring managers and HR professionals where there's no alignment, the intake agent is your friend. It is going to patiently pass that ball around until you can score, get aligned on the right roles and requisitions, and get you your next great hire and on to the next round of the World Cup. Cue the dramatic music. Enter Belgium, the bad guys here stateside in the United States. Against the U.S., Belgium took a quick lead. Then the U.S. equalized. But before you knew it, Belgium was back on the score sheet atop. It was 2-1 in just seconds. That is not just speed. It is the ability to immediately reorganize and respond to conditions on a moment's notice. A goal goes in, and they're already moving forward. That is why we have aligned Belgium with the Phenom scheduling agent. The moment a candidate says they need to reschedule, the moment an interviewer drops out of a panel, the moment a time zone conflict appears, the agent handles it. No more back and forth ticky-tacky style of play with 14 emails in a thread. No coordinator spending 45 minutes to find a new time that works for 6 people across different parts of the organization. It just gets done and they win. It manages calendar conflicts, coordinates across teams, automates rescheduling for last-minute changes, and eliminates delays that quietly add to your time to fill. They're not worried about if Balogun is going to play or not because they're going to beat you anyway. And that is what the Phenom scheduling agent does. It understands extenuating circumstances. It understands these change and automatically applies them and coordinates before you lose someone down the pipeline to another organization. Now, Belgium is the bad guys here, but I think scheduling truly is the bad guys overall. How many times did you look at your calendar and try and find something? How many emails back and forth did you have trying to rescheduling something? Belgium is the bad guy, but scheduling is the true bad guy. Moving right along. to our friends Norway, or I don't know if I said that correct, Norway. It's everyone's favorite stop at the Epcot World Showcase. It is where, our good friends Anna and Elsa live. Norway's entire strategy is built around Holland. I think you noticed this if you've watched any games at the World Cup. The guy simply scores goals. He is the C-suite placement with a jersey on his back. Everything else on the pitch exists simply to support this big hire, to create conditions where Erling Haaland can only do what he can do, and that's score goals, that's deliver, that's knock Brazil out of the round of 16, which is exactly what the Phenom Executive Recruiter Agent does as well. The Phenom Executive Recruiter Agent works the same way. It's not a general purpose sourcing tool. It is not for your evergreen positions. It is specifically built for high stakes, high touch searches. It aggregates data from across the web, synthesizes executive profiles into clear snapshots, surfaces key experiences and qualifications faster, and gives your hiring team deeper context for the conversations that matter the most. These are the placements where one wrong call costs millions and millions of dollars, where the search can't be rushed and the research can't just be all right. That's Norway. That's this agent. This is the first quarterfinal in Norwegian football history. And it's because of a big bet. It is because of Erling Haaland. So if you get that C-suite, that executive on your team, it could change it all. Next up, we go across the pond to our friends England. England is all about structure. It is about set pieces. It is about rehearsed routines, preparation over improv. We've all watched Ted Lasso. We know this, right? Ted Lasso shook up the entire Premier League because he did do improv. That's not how England does things. They're the most naturally gifted team in the tournament. After all, how many times have you heard it's coming home? But they are always the most prepared as well. Every scenario has been drilled. Every situation has a response. Nothing is left in the moment to improv at all across the pitch. That is why England is the Phenom Interview Agent. It automatically takes notes, manages questions, and summarizes insights in real time before and after each interview. The hiring team can stop worrying about capturing everything and focus on the person sitting directly across from them. And here's the best part, the part that matters most. It's consistent. Every candidate gets the same structured experience. No interview where one person gets the easy questions and the recruiter wasn't having a good day, so they get asked the tough questions. And another one gets grilled on what their favorite color is. What does that have to do with the position? It has absolutely nothing. This is all about structure, removing biases from the process, but still maintaining a deeply human connection. If you believe the interview is where hiring is won and lost, England is your team. Next up is Argentina. Now, we're going to focus on one particular player here because Argentina is represented by the Phenom Career Coach Agent. And of course, you can't mention Argentina without mentioning Lionel Messi and his career arc. He has played for nearly 2 decades. He has evolved his game year after year. He started off as a winger, midfielder, false 9. Now I saw a stat the other day, he walks the majority of the 6 kilometers that he plays. And it is because he is constantly reinventing himself to still be at the top of his game. Whether his legs start to give out, whether he starts to be a little bit older, there's one thing that is always going to happen. He's always going to score, and he's always going to be at the top of his game. That is career pathing executed to perfection. And Argentina as a team reflects the same philosophy. They develop players, build on what they have, and find ways to extract more from the talent that is already in their building. The Career Coach Agent does exactly this. It maps career paths across the organization, tracks milestones and development processes, recommends learning opportunities, and gives employees visibility into what's possible for them before they start looking somewhere else. The stat worth sitting on out of all of this is cost. It costs significantly more to replace employees than to develop one. The Career Coach Agent is the argument that retention isn't a culture initiative. It's a product decision. Show people where they are going, and most of them will stay to get there. If internal mobility and long-term development are your focus, Argentina is your team. Or if you just want to watch Leo Messi, I'm not gonna hold that against you. And last but not least, Colombia, the Phenom candidate concierge. Colombia plays with joy. You can see it in their fans whenever they zoom in. It's flair, it's personality, it's celebrations. Fans at Colombia games turn every event into a celebration, regardless of the score. Nobody watches Colombia and checks their phone at halftime. There's an energy about how they play that pulls you in and it keeps you there. That's the candidate concierge agent. That's the candidate concierge agent's entire mission, because here is the reality of what most candidates experience. They apply for a job and then they hear nothing. The average gap between application and next contact is over a week. There's no status update. There's no acknowledgement that the application has even arrived. There's just silence, which to a candidate reads as disinterest. How many times have you been ghosted dating? I haven't. I'm happily married. But you get the idea. The concierge agent is always on. It provides real-time application status, prepares candidates with interview tips and resources, answers questions for them at midnight when someone's thinking about it, or 4 a.m. or whenever that is, and it turns a process that feels like it's happening to the candidates into one that feels like it's working with them. Candidate experience is a business outcome. It affects offer acceptance. It affects reviews. It affects your employer brand for every future search. And if that's your world, Colombia is your team. Well, there you have it. That is the final 8 teams, I believe, in the World Cup and the agents that they are attached to. France, your sourcing agent. Morocco, your fraud detection agent. Spain, the intake agent. Belgium, the bad guys, your scheduling agent. Norway, your executive recruiter agent. England, your interview agent. Argentina, your career coach agent. And Colombia, your candidate concierge agent. Find your team, root for them the rest of the way through the tournament. Don't forget, it happens again in 4 years. You'll enjoy it. You'll get to root for the U.S. for now. But if any of these things are applicable to you, you should certainly root for those teams. And like I said, I'm rooting for France from here on out. I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of the World Cup. Now that the stakes are gone, you just get to sit down and watch a little bit of football and root for your team and whatever agent you are pulling for. Can't wait to see you all next week, because we do this every damn Thursday here on TXL. Once again, have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.